Hello everybody and welcome back to another weekly recap. We're on week number 34 and we had a few interesting updates this week, and probably the most interesting story for me is we are finally getting a update that actually passed the poll I think like 3 years ago. Like, it's been a long time, and that is the Hitsplat recoloring poll. Finally, we now have the engine capacity to render the Hitsplats in different colors. I do not know why that wasn't available before, but now the engine is capable of doing that, so we will be seeing that update in the near future. We also have a few quality of life changes for the Hosidious house rework, a nice runelite update, and a lot more from the community. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoy, and let's get started. Okay, so this week we got one content update, and that was named Poll 67 and Hosidious Improvements. So these are all updates from an April 10th poll. First appeared, they've changed it so you can now launch pest control games with a smaller group of people. If 25 players aren't available to start the game, after 2 minutes, if there's at least 5 players present, it'll start, since that is the minimum. With this update, the Barbarian Assault role icon is now put in your jaw slot. This will allow players to wear capes within Barbarian Assault. A really nice quality of life update is there are now weapon categories for the combat option interface. So for example, melee weapons and halberds and stuff like that. The example here is it'll now show jab, swipe, and fend. It's really just to give more information on what attack style you're actually using, as often they'll pick a vague category and you don't actually know which style you're using. With this update, hunter traps will no longer close interfaces that you have open. For example, if you're looking at a skill guide or your bank and your hunter trap fell down, it would actually close that interface. A really weird interaction, but I'm glad they fixed that. A really interesting change to the Lyre teleport, you're now able to make a one-off payment to unlock unlimited teleports on the Lyre. After you've completed the Fremennik Trials quest, you can enchant the Lyre for 1,000 sea turtles, 1,000 manta rays, 1,000 sharks, and 1,000 bass. Interesting. And this will make it so you can use the Lyre an unlimited amount of times. This is actually extremely useful because there are not many reliable ways to get to Relica, and that requirement actually isn't that much. It'll only cost you maybe a mil or something at most, and now you have an unlimited teleport right to Relica, which I think is awesome. Last week we did get the Hosidious house rework, but there were a few changes this week. For example, the mud under the Hosidious house portal is no longer the wrong shade of brown. And the cow field in northern Hosidious is now a multi-combat zone to promote more effective bovine slaughter. Okay, so nothing really important there. For a change, everything from a PvP poll actually ended up passing. We should hopefully be getting the new Wilderness Slayer keys, which I'm actually pretty excited for, as well as the other 5 questions passed as well. And that's pretty much it for content updates this week. The date for RuneFest 2019 has been released. It is now October 4th and 5th in the Farthenborough International Exhibition and Conference Center. Unfortunately, I won't be going, but you know what? Maybe one year I will. As always, we have a pretty nice runelite update this week. We have release number 1.5.25, a very small update to the clue scroll plugin. It will now display whether you have the stash units built for emote clues, and it will even mark the tiles of the nearby stash units when you're going to do those clues, so that's pretty nice. The clan chat plugin now offers an option to allow chat typed in the clan tab to be sent to your clan chat without the need of your message to start with a slash. It would be kind of nice to get used to this because often I'll be typing something out and I've accidentally put the slash in front of it and then I just yell it out to the clan, or the opposite happens pretty often as well, so a really nice update. There's now a search function for the music list. There was actually an update similar to this for the quest list, but now you can actually do it for music tracks. And like always, there's quite a few quality of life changes, but thanks once again to runelite, a really nice update. Alright, so we have been waiting actually almost 3 years for the Hitsplat update. I believe this passed the poll back in August of 2016, which is pretty close to 3 years ago. Finally, with the last week's engine update, the mod team is now able to add tinted Hitsplats from poll 46. This would be added in with a toggle, and you can see a bit of a mock-up of the colors from Mod Ash. He is having to edit a lot of combat damage code, and it probably won't be finished for a few weeks. It will be added in as a toggle, so it won't really be affecting you. But for stuff like poison damage, venom, and other types of damage, we can now kind of classify based on a color, which I think is going to be extremely useful. This week, Sick Nerds becomes the very first Hardcore Ironman to get all of the godwar's dungeon items, which is actually a bit surprising. The Hardcore Ironman game mode has been out for quite a while, but no one has actually collected all of the godwar's items. I just have to imagine that a lot of Hardcore Ironman maybe went to godwars and got a few of the more useful items, but didn't want to risk their account getting all of them. I'm imagining that either most Hardcore Ironmans died trying to do this, or just playing it safe and not actually attempting to get boss drops or do anything too risky. But that's a really awesome achievement, so congratulations to Sick Nerd. A really interesting bug was actually posted by Beef Beast on Reddit and that is if you lose your membership or log into a free-to-play world with the Din's Bulwark equipped, it'll actually make it a one-handed weapon visually. You won't actually be able to use it because you're in free-to-play, but I think it looks absolutely hilarious, and I never actually knew about that before. A player by the name of Xzact completes an Inferno run at Combat 50, which is absolutely insane. It's really cool to see that people are pretty much consistently pushing the boundaries of what's possible. It took players months to complete this the first time, and now people are doing it on a 50 combat account. And last appear, a player by the name of OSRS, Caleb, has achieved all of the skilling pets on a level 3 account. This is pretty impressive to have on a skilling account. This person actually achieved all of the pets that are possible for him to obtain, as you wouldn't really be able to kill bosses at all. So for all intents and purposes, this guy's collected all of the pets possible, which I think is just really cool. So before I jump into the weekly Q&A, I just wanted to get your opinion on a few of the more popular Reddit suggestions this week. First up here, we had fish releasing, which garnered a ton of support with over 8,000 upvotes in a single week. Essentially, the concept would be that instead of dropping your fish, you'd actually use the raw fish on a fishing spot and you would slowly release them back into the ocean. This would be slower than manually dropping them, but would be more AFK. Now, the moderation team actually did answer that and said that they did not want to do that, which I can kind of see why. I don't know if it's really fully necessary. I don't think fishing is actually the most click-intensive activity, unless you're like 2 or 3 ticking it. Dropping all your fish every 30 or 40 seconds really isn't that bad, and there are other AFK fishing methods out there, but still a really cool suggestion, and it would have been an interesting mechanic. I just don't think it's fully necessary. And the other popular suggestion was resting at fires, which would be a solution to a new player run energy. I really like this one. Essentially, the concept would be you could actually rest at fires, and the amount of run energy you would restore would be based on the log that is burning. So for example, a regular log would give you a 4 times run restore rate, and a redwood log would give you an 8 times run restore rate. I think this would be an excellent solution to 2 problems. One, fire making is useless, so that would be a nice solution to that, and solving the problem of new player run energy I think is just a bonus. And last up here, we're going to do a quick recap of the weekly Q&A. Every week, the mod team does a question and answer, and I'm going to do a bit of a recap on some of the more important questions and answers. Okay, so next week, there's not actually going to be a Q&A. There will be a Song of the Elves stream, which will come with an announcement date, and they'll talk about the team responsible for what's been done so far. They're also going to be inviting a few players to Jagex to test the Song of the Elves before it actually gets released. Okay, so now for the questions. What does the team currently think about the state of Elite Clue Scroll? The average loot from an Elite Clue Scroll is usually worse than either a Master Clue or a Hard Clue. They are just generally a bit too rare. They said that we came across this issue when they were developing Master Clue Scrolls back in 2016. They knew that Elite Clue Scrolls were a bit too far out compared to the others, so last year they reduced the amount of steps that are needed. However, they could do a few other things to make Elite Clue Scrolls a bit more valuable. For example, giving more rewards, dropping another step. Some other mods think that just getting them is mainly the problem. The value is higher than a Hard Clue, it's just the amount of time it takes to get an Elite Clue Scroll is too long, so they could maybe look at improving that rate. Could you lock the Revenant Caves behind the Wilderness Diary? Currently, level 3 scouts are able to access the Revenant Cave and kind of clutters up the whole thing. They said they have to involve the discussions with the ICU and talk about bots and gold farmers and so on. It would be something they'd like to look into though, yes. The gold crafting menu got a much needed update, but could the silver crafting menu and smithing menus also be given the similar treatment? They said yes, it's possible for sure. They'll just have to find time to get it done. With the new Hitsplat update, is it possible to add a golden Hitsplat to show when you've hit your maximum hit? And they said yes, it's technically possible. 69% voted yes in a straw poll. Why is it that newer monsters have only one look, for example drakes, worms, whereas the other character models have multiple ones like calves and goblins? They said the reason for this is that a lot of the newer monsters are a lot more intricate and they look great on their own, so they don't really need that variety. Can you make the level up message in chat a link that will reopen the level up window, which is often accidentally closed? Yes, please add this in. This was a cool feature back in the day and they wouldn't say no to it, especially for new players. Polls on the old school RuneScape website have been showing inaccurate poll results for years, which is kind of misleading for those that were unaware. When will this be fixed? For those who are wondering what this is about, for whatever reason the abstain votes mess up the actual total, so the actual result can be like 5% different plus or minus often. So it actually could have 73% of people voting for it but actually still pass, I think is how it works. It's a little weird. They said this relies on the web team, so they'll have to consult them. We have King Black Dragon for black dragons, Vorkath for blue dragons. What about a Queen Red Dragon boss to help with the wilderness rejuvenation? They said the problem with adding new bosses in the wilderness is that they really should be working on the existing ones first, and they wouldn't really want to add another one without fixing them. And last up here, can you add colors to the bottomless compost bucket so that they look different for each compost type? They said yes, that makes sense, and they'll have a look into it. Anyway guys, that is it for the weekly recap. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to leave the video a like, I would appreciate it, and I will see you next time.